is that Kentucky is without starting point guard Jaylen Lowe the rest of the season. Mark Pope announces last night that after what we kind of expected, what we saw as it unfolded in real time there in that win against Mississippi State, he goes down within the first 2.5 minutes. There, immediately grabs it. He swipes down on a defensive stop, grabs at his shoulder, and immediately runs back to the locker room. We don't see him again until halftime. He comes back out after halftime. His arm is kind of tucked into his shirt, wearing a sleeve, wearing a sling, obviously, and we don't see him the rest of the game. Pope says afterward, we will kind of explore all of our options, see what happens there. Didn't rule out a season-ending thing, but also said, hey, if the returns are positive, then maybe he won't miss any games. We talked to him yesterday. He says no firm update quite yet, but you could kind of tell he was not optimistic, seeing how poorly it responded the following day. And then during his call-in show later in the night, we got the official confirmation that Jaylen Lowe is out. So your thoughts on that, Shawn Smith?
It's one of those things, right? We've talked about it off and on. It seems like for a month now that when it wasn't a matter of if, but when it was going to happen, and what would be the severity of it, and at some point would it turn into a shutdown. And at this point, Kentucky's reached it, and the ceiling that we had for Kentucky when the season started, they've not lived up or got to what we thought it was going to be. This also lowers the chances of them reaching that ceiling that maybe we'd put on this team as soon as 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think now you can develop some sense of continuity with what you're wanting to do rotation wise, which can be a positive and a negative because you don't have the guy that it's the engine that kind of makes you go. But now, instead of playing the if we have him, will we have him, won't we have him, I guess the one positive thing is now you can kind of just go in and this be the game plan moving forward. It's unfortunate, but Kentucky's got to find a way to make the most of it. And if you're looking for any positives, you guys can kind of settle in now and figure out roles a little bit better. But Jasper Johnson's got to play. Like, that's got to be the next man up, and we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, you go two angles with this. One, you're gutted for Jaylen. Like, you know how bad he wanted this. You know when he went down with the initial injury at the blue-white game, which, again, how stupid is it that a dumb blue-white game just totally derailed this season? Who would have ever dreamed that possibility? But he goes down then, you immediately go, okay, well, does he just get the surgery now? And maybe he's back in time for end of season. And then you're like, well, then you're kind of throwing a new wrench into things when the continuity is already there. I don't know. So the back and forth with that, but he kept trying. It could have been easy for him to shut down, guarantee the medical red shirt, and just say, yeah, this season, we're going to punt on this season, come back next year stronger, healthier, and not risk any long-term issues with our shoulder. He decides to gut it out. He plays really well when he is healthy and getting some continuity. We saw that 3-game stretch, Indiana, St. John's, Alabama, where he did play very, very well, and we started to kind of see that vision come together finally. And then, I mean, just a week later, it all goes away. So you feel horrible for him for making the tough decision to come back and play through it. But there is also something to be said that, hey, there's still 15 games to go, Shawn. Like, there's a lot of season that's left to be played. You wanted the injury if it was going to happen, it needed to happen right now, because he is played 9 games. He officially hits that medical redshirt mark where he at least has a second year of eligibility. We can worry about that down the road. But now it's time to win basketball games. What does that path look like? And I almost do kind of appreciate that we just say, all right, we know what the team we have now moving forward. Let's ride. So what is the response to this, Shawn? Who do you lean on? You brought up Jasper Johnson. How much can you trust him to kind of be thrust into that role? Does he start? Do you slide Denzel over to that off ball too and let Jasper just kind of ride the wave as a starter? How do you, if you were in Mark Pope's shoes, how would you handle that?
I think you probably just got to slide Denzel to start, and then kind of just throw Jasper in there. And this is where Jasper's development can kind of start to happen, right? Is you've reached a point now where you're forced into it. It's not as much about being selective of when, and now it's kind of like, all right, what do you have here for 2.5 months? What can you give me? What can that development mean for your future in this program? What can that development mean for your future as a college basketball player, whatever's next for your career? But I believe it'll be Denzel sliding over to start and initiate it, but you're going to get an increased minutes for Jasper Johnson, and probably it's going to take a collective effort, Jack. It's going to be Otega Owe handling the ball at times. It's going to be Colin Chandler having to play some minutes in some different spots. Like, everybody's going to have to shift and adjust. But I guess the one positive thing about this is, you saw Kentucky go on that run that they had in the second half the other night, and that's a confidence builder. Now you can settle in and say, all right, I wish we had him. I wish he were full strength, but now I don't have to play the when's it going to happen? When are we going to be shorthanded? When are we going to have to change things up? Now you can kind of lock in and maybe establish something over the next 2 to 3 games that's kind of going to be your blueprint for how you're going to try to win the rest of the way. And look, there's two big quad one games coming up here for Kentucky. Like, this one coming up tomorrow is a quad one that you need to take advantage of while it's still a quad one, and let's see where they go. Like, there's a huge stretch of games coming up, and I think developing some sort of continuity within your rotation without Jaylen is probably now the challenge. But I think you'll at least be able to kind of establish a rhythm of what you're going to have to do to win for the next couple of months.
I am really excited for Jasper because look, we'll just call a spade here. Like, he hasn't been thrilled with how any of this has unfolded, because would you, if you were a 5-star, All-American level talent coming in and playing 5 minutes against the guy, UNC, a program that was the runner-up in my recruitment, like some demoralizing, humiliating stuff there if you are a kid with a big ego, confident, like that, he's the OTE kid. He believes the world of himself and his abilities, and to not be able to get that chance has not been easy for him. We talked to Mark Pope yesterday about, hey, if this is what we kind of think it could be with Jaylen, is Jasper the guy? And he kind of brought up the outside noise and said, like, hey, it's really hard to, keep all of that outside and just kind of keep your head down and work. And Jasper, to his credit, even understanding some of those frustrations, he has put his head down and worked, and kind of getting the proof in the pudding of, even in short stints, he's produced. He has done some very interesting, fun things out on the floor. And I thought, Mississippi State was a nice little appetizer of, like, hey, you're not going to be only playing 10 minutes moving forward. You're going to be a 20-ish minute per game guy.